All right, welcome in. It is the best betting show ever. And when I mean ever, I mean at least over the last 6 minutes here. Joe Raineri alongside, well, we don't want Art's. First of all, I am sorry, Art, that I disrespected you like that. Let me get your name in there so we make sure that we don't ever make that mistake again. So hold on one second, Art. I promise we're going to get you all squared away here, because nobody wants to be known as, Lawrence Presman, who, by the way, is trying to convince me that he's not actually laying on the beach right now and that he is somehow doing well in his poker tournament. But I think you and I both know that is not the case. But he is enjoying the warm weather here in South Florida, Art, which I'm guessing is half the battle. But there you go. Now it's Art DiCesare, not Lawrence Presman. So we welcome you back in now, Art. Unfortunately, mislabeling you there as the Prez. But we got a lot going on coming up this week. We got a lot going on here today. We got plenty of college basketball, huge conference games coming up today. We got NBA, you got NHL, but of course, we got divisional matchups. We've got also, we got one more game to crown a national champion in college football. But let's start like we usually do on a Tuesday with you, because I'm dying to know. Feels like the public might have had themselves a halfway decent weekend here in Wild Card Weekend. How did the books do after everything was said and done?
Yeah, Joe, putting my name as Lawrence Presman, it's like a losing in fantasy and having a punishment. I think that's like my fantasy punishment is to be Lawrence Presman for the day,
That's correct.
All right,
yes.
I paid my dues and I'm good now. But, yeah, Joe, as far as the weekend goes, we'll just start with Saturday. And obviously the Rams, we had talked early in the week where there was a lot of Ram money. Hey, listen, if the Rams would have lost outright, that would have been awesome, because you would have crushed all the parlays early. But the Rams not covering was a really good result. It really was. And then we get to the night game. And we would have had a banner day if Green Bay would have won that game and held on. They didn't, so it ended up being like just a wash of a day for us. Green Bay really killed us blowing that game that way. And then we get to Sunday, and Sunday was awesome. You get to that Jacksonville game. Jacksonville closed, 1.5, 2 in that game. So obviously a ton of Jacksonville money. Buffalo winning outright was enormous. We had talked all week about San Francisco. That was our biggest need, because it felt like it was just one-way traffic on Philly. That thing was 3.5, got up to 6. The sharps and the publics were there. All the teasers, all the money line parlays were on Philly. So San Francisco, big outcome for us. And then the night game, once you got to that, it kind of was a wash as far as a result for us. I mean, maybe a little bit of money we made on New England, but San Francisco carried the day for us. Sunday was a banner day for us. And then last night, a little bit of a loss on Houston. Early in the week, we took a ton, and I mean a ton, of sharp Pittsburgh money. But the public and everyone else kind of overwhelmed that with the Houston money and a lot of things that were tied into Houston on Monday night as far as parlays and teasers and parlay cards and all that. So a little bit of a loss. But overall, because Sunday was so good in that San Francisco win, it was a winning weekend for us.
We had, I know we talked about it on Friday, Art. We had Buffalo becoming very public. But that wasn't the public running to the window, flipping that line before kickoff there. So that was a big move before. And we had mentioned the only game all week where the pros and the Joes were aligned seemed to be that Philadelphia game. You said you couldn't find anybody coming to the window to bet the 49ers. And it was just one-way money, pros and Joes. And of course, that is the biggest head scratcher upset of the weekend. But in hindsight, it probably should not have been that big a surprise to a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think a lot of people in the end, when you actually watch that game and look at that game, Philly's offense is so challenged. It's like, how are they going to go and cover a 6-point game despite all the San Francisco injuries? And obviously they had even more on Sunday with Kittle going down. It's like that team every week, it's the wounded Warriors just going through. But yeah, I mean, you're right about that Jacksonville game. I thought Buffalo would be pretty public, and they were, but It's not the public that's going to move an opening number of Buffalo early from 1 to them being a 2-point dog by kickoff. So clearly we took a ton of sharp, and then we started to see some public Jacksonville money. We really did.
Yep. Yeah, and then, of course, most places, I don't know what you club, but most places where I think 51 or 52 and a half, somewhere in that ballpark for that total, and what it landed, 51. So, yikes. That was very interesting as well. But how about rewind it to Friday? We talked about Oregon being also against Indiana. You had mentioned Indiana had, become the public darling. You were getting nothing but Indiana money. If I remember correctly, it was a little bit of a push for Oregon late, but for the most part, it was over before it began. How did the books do with Indiana and Oregon? Did Indiana kill you?
Yeah, I mean, they did. Listen, there was a little bit of support for Oregon, but I think the overwhelming Indiana money that has just been coming through this whole tournament, and then Indiana, and we'll talk about it too in the championship game, with them being the favorite that they are, they're very popular in the money line favorite parlays. Indiana is always going to be one of the 2 or 3 or 4 legs in somebody's parlay because they just go out and they beat everyone by 40. So, I mean, people are using Indiana like the free bingo square now. So, and that's no different once we get to this championship game. You've already seen that.
Yep, that is for sure. All right, Art, so let's start there as we try to figure out where the money is going this week. And, well, we saw the look ahead, Art, 5.5 for an Indiana Miami game. You and I talked about that on Friday, and then they absolutely steamrolled Oregon. Then we saw 7.5 as an open, and unless it has been all Indiana ever since. Correct? I mean, I saw maybe 8.5 yesterday, pretty prevalent. I even saw a 9 in the market yesterday. Steve and I talked about it and said, listen, if you like Miami, there is no rush, it feels like, to have to bet Miami at this point, because if that money is coming, it is likely going to be later in the week, Art. They're going to see how far this line gets pushed towards Indiana, but it feels like that might be the only money you're getting so far in this one.
No doubt about it. And you mentioned it. We opened 7.5. We're now 8.5. And this is something we've talked about on this show, right? We're starting to be around dead numbers. So what's the difference? I mean, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, you're right. I think we're going to see eventually how high we can push this number. You've already seen the money line stuff with Indiana. People are coming to the window and laying 330, laying 340 to win a couple of dimes because Indiana has just been that team. Now, we have also mentioned we get murdered on Miami in the futures. So we're rooting for Indiana, but we're also not, over here just trying to give Indiana money away. We're just going to book the game the way we're going to book it. And I think I'm with you guys. I think this thing's going to approach 10. I think if you like Miami on the money line, I think you wait because the Indiana story is just overwhelming. I haven't heard one person talk about Miami this week or leading up to this game, and I think you're just going to continue with that. It's going to continue to be Indiana money here.
Feels a lot like that 49ers-Eagles game, Art. We just could not find anybody wanting to back the game. Find anybody wanting to back Miami except this sick son of a bitch right here. All right, so plenty of time there. Interestingly enough, as much of as a move that we've seen and continue to see on the side, Art, not a lot of movement in the total. 48.5 is an open. Still 48.5. You tend to usually get those kinds of moves on the total when the limits are higher later in the week or before kick. When do you usually see the push with the total?
Yeah, I mean, you'll see some probably total money later in the week, and I think this is one, too, where you'll see the public come in and want to bet the over. They're just going to want to bet a championship game over. And maybe, the sharp guys are waiting to see, hey, does the total get pushed up a little bit? And maybe we want to come in and fire on the under. Just haven't seen that yet. Really, just for us, the main moves have been on the money line and on the side because, like you said, we haven't budgeted off our 48.5.
Yeah, exactly. And that seems to be pretty steady here. Not so much, though, lack of movement in the divisional rounds now that we know everything that is set up here, Art. And I think the one game that stuck out to everybody was the Denver and Buffalo game, where Buffalo opens up as that small favorite, right? 1.5, and it's like deja vu all over again because they just did that with Jacksonville, but Jacksonville ended up going off as the favorite. We're starting to see some movement in that direction already, Art, but Denver feels like maybe they're the public side here early on. What are you seeing in this game?
For us, and we did open Buffalo as a small favorite, -1. And our initial bets, early bets, and I mean, this is as public as it gets. Couple of, money line stuff on Buffalo, laying -115, that type of stuff. And then one of our sharpest NFL accounts did take Denver +1. So we moved to pick on the game. And I'm with you on this. I think this is going to be, public's going to be all over Buffalo again. And I think the sharp guys, and we've seen it early, are going to look to take Denver here. And this is a game, it would not shock me if Denver closes as a 1.5 point favorite. It feels like Denver is getting no respect. They haven't gotten a lot of respect all year, pretty much, in the betting market, it felt like. And I think Buffalo is going to start to go on this, ride here with Josh Allen saying, oh, he's going to make the Super Bowl. And you're going to really see. And you got to remember, too, the later we get in these playoffs, especially Super Bowl, you start to see way more public money.
Yeah.
There's way more public money each round you go in these playoffs. It always happens.
Yep. Yeah. Big time here. And we've had a couple of days. A couple of those games after Saturday, we knew what the matchups were going to be. We knew the 49ers winning were heading back to a very familiar foe there in Seattle. And we saw look ahead there, 6.5, maybe 7. Saw a lot of 7.5s. I think we're still at 7.5 here, Art, with Seattle and the 49ers. Not a lot of movement on your end either here.
We opened 7. We moved to 7.5, and that was just a market move for us. It's not like we took a bet on 7 and pushed us to the 7.5. We didn't want to be at 7. We said, we'll go to 7.5. We almost and listen, when the market moves like that, then it's like, well, does someone want to come take 7.5? And no one has bit yet on that. So, now listen, we know Seattle, when you sit at that 7.5, going to be very popular in moneyline parlays and very popular in teasers. There's no doubt we will be rooting for San Francisco.
Yeah, it feels like, once again, you're going to need the 49ers to make it a very profitable weekend for the books there. And the Rams opened up 3.5 against Chicago, but I don't know, I'm starting to see maybe a 4 or 2 pop up in the market here. Are you seeing any? And boy, Chicago's becoming more and more public by the week here. So what are we thinking here? Bears at home, nobody gives them a chance, and yet all they do is win, I keep hearing, Art.
It's true. Nobody gives them a chance. We opened 3.5 on LA. We are now 4. Once again, that is a market move as well. We didn't necessarily take a bet that moved us to 4. It's funny. Our total, I think we opened at 51, got as high as 52. Then we saw some sharp money bring us back down to our opener of 51. So for us, really, the total has been the big move in the game. And let me say this on the futures, as we talk about Miami killing us in college. The one team we really need to avoid winning the Super Bowl is the Rams. So we're going to be rooting for, oh man. I have not stopped betting the Rams all year. And I'll say this too, the Rams are huge too in those exactas. Like Rams beat Patriots, Rams beat Bills. Like if the Rams get into the Super Bowl is even bad for us. So we really want to avoid the Rams. We hope they get picked off here in the next couple of weeks.
Well, we got, of course, after last night and C.J. Stroud turning the ball over, can't hold on to it 3 times, and still somehow or another the Steelers couldn't take advantage. But now Houston has to head to Foxborough to take on New England. Look ahead, I saw 2.5s in some spots, 3s. It feels like that's kind of what we're at right now. Still a lot of 3s. But it looks like we got some tickets and money on Houston here. But, boy, are they going to win another game strictly by defense, Art? I don't know.
Well, their defense is good enough to win a championship now as their offense. I don't think so. That defense is phenomenal. I'll say this. We had a debate on if Houston wins that game last night, how do we open the game? If it's a tight game, maybe they win in a last-second field goal, maybe you open New England 3. But the way they dominated and the way that defense played, and I get it, New England's way better than Pittsburgh, and Houston's got to go on the road again and win a playoff game. We decided, hey, let's open New England 2.5. We feel comfortable there at the 2.5. Nobody's wanted to lay us 2.5 now. Under a field goal with a home favorite in a playoff game. Nobody has done it yet. Now, obviously, that line has had the least amount of shelf life because obviously it just came out late last night. We'll obviously be able to talk about that game a little bit further as we go down here on the week. And listen, a lot of these games have barely had movement. We're going to see a lot more movement here in the next couple of days, but we felt comfortable with Houston and New England being a 2.5-point favorite.
What's the biggest handled game you think this weekend? All right, what's gonna garner the most handle, you think?
It's a great question. I think the Rams and Bears are going to be right there.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see that because we're talking. I mean, the Rams, and you got to remember for us too, we have the California influx that comes into town. So we get that. The Bears are the Bears, and they're very popular.
It's the late game on Sunday.
Yeah, it's the late game on Sunday. Yeah. I think that really helps. Yeah, now listen, once you get to this stage, you're going to get tremendous handle. Yeah. You're going to get tremendous handle. But I would say right now, I think the Bears-Rams going to get your highest handle.
Yeah, that's going to be your Sunday night game. Houston, New England will be the 3:00 game on Sunday. So a lot still can happen between now and then, though, Art, certainly from the book perspective and the lines. We'll keep an eye on it all week long. But, as we get ready to wrap up the football season here, let's not forget we got plenty of NBA and, of course, college basketball action. It is a loaded slate here today of conference games and college hoops. What are you seeing on the hardwood? NBA, college basketball, NHL. Anything crazy as well here so far this morning?
Absolutely. Give you some stuff in all three. Let's start with the NHL. Saw some overnight money on the Islanders, and we also saw some overnight money on Utah, the Mammoth. They've been pretty good at home. They are at home tonight. When you go to the NBA, the big game, OKC and the Spurs. I mean, feels like OKC really needs to win this game and prove themselves that they can actually beat the Spurs. OKC, we opened 7. We're now 8 on the game. They're going to be super popular as well in all the money line parlays for the daily stuff. So obviously, if we can get the Spurs to win outright, that'd be great because we'll knock all those Thunder money lines out. We've seen the over creep up too from 228.5 to 230. And then in college, A&M took some money. I believe they're at Tennessee. They took plus money or took money at plus 9.5. UConn saw really good over money on the road at newly ranked Seton Hall. Over 131, now 134. So you've seen a 3-point move to the over there. And Oklahoma at home against Florida. Oklahoma took money at plus 6.
Wow. So there you go. OU at home against Florida, who just destroyed Tennessee, who's home against Texas A&M there. And yeah, Seton Hall and UConn, interesting, right? I mean, UConn hasn't fared very well there against Seton Hall, especially at Seton Hall over the last couple of seasons here. So that should be a good, still feels like 133 is a ridiculously low number. And now it's up to 134. Like they keep betting the over there. Doesn't shock me, Art. So we got a little something for everyone here moving forward. NBA and, college hoops, NHL, certainly going to be front and center moving forward. Do you usually see the transition, Art, from right around now where less football, now we start to see a little more interest, a little more handle towards the college basketball realm here, or does it stay pretty steady from here moving forward?
I always say it like this, the college basketball season, let's say, starts November 6th. The guys who bet college basketball the whole year, they're betting on November 6th. Yep. The public and the people who just realize, oh, wait, there's a college basketball season going on, they get involved the week after the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's like they start remembering, oh, wait, there's other sports. And then, you're really deep in a conference play. Then you're going to get close to your conference tournaments. Then you really start to see the public start to creep in on the other sports. But the guys who bet NHL, NBA, college basketball, they're there from day one. You know that. I mean, they don't even care about the football games, most of them. We have some accounts we see on November 6th. and then we see to the end, April 1st, 2nd, whenever the championship game is, and then we don't see them the rest of the year. They are strictly college basketball accounts. We have plenty of people like that.
Yeah, well, it's certainly, there are some huge games coming up. Now's the time to get back into the swing of things here. And if you're just watching college basketball, you're going, wait a minute, Kansas is at Fog Allen and they're an underdog? Like, what in the world has happened here? Yeah, it's been that kind of season so far. Welcome to the new NIL in college hoops. Going to make things very interesting moving forward, Art. All right, so we've got everyone caught up. Of course, we'll have more as the week progresses here. But it is time for our parlay of the day, Art. So before we get everyone else's picks here, parlay of the day can be in any sport here today. And you got a little something for everyone. So what direction are you heading here tonight?
I always love the fired coach angle.
Ooh.
And someone did that in the NHL yesterday. The Columbus Blue Jackets fired their coach. They're at home tonight against the Flames, who are no good. I got to lay 130, but I'm going to do it. Give me Columbus at home, minus 130 against the Flames.
Got to love it. All right, Art DiCesare, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, my man. That's what we say here. Fired coaches system has been money. Let's get it to cash again here tonight. All right, Art, we'll talk to you again tomorrow. We'll have more updates across the board. What's going on, though? I imagine pretty interesting time here at the book leading up to, of course, the Super Bowl, and then not a lot of time to waste because March Madness will be just a month away after that, and then all hell breaks loose. So it's a little crazy for you now over at the Westgate.
Yeah, I mean, listen, playoff football mode is huge, and, we really get into, longer. Listen, the football season's always that way, and we recognize there's only a handful of games left, but we start putting up a lot more content, a lot more props, a lot more, index props, general game props, try to start to book all these NFL playoff games like mini Super Bowls with more options. So it's a really fun time for us, a busy time, but a fun time.
Yeah, well, 2.5 weeks away from pitchers and catchers too, Art. So I'll just remind you of that. That's around the corner. World Baseball Classic should be a whole lot of fun coming up, man. Art DiCesare, enjoy the day, man. We appreciate the time. As always, we'll talk to you again tomorrow. All right, Merrill. So Art is going with his usual fired coaches system there. The Columbus Blue Jackets tonight in the NHL. Now it is up to you and I not to screw this three-leg parlay of the day up. And we got plenty of games to look at, too. A lot of NBA, a lot of college basketball here. So which side or which league are you looking to go with for your end of the parlay of the day?
Well, a little bit of a sharp money move, but I think there's still some value at 7 o'clock Eastern tonight in the ACC college hoops. Miami of Florida opened as about a 2.5-point favorite over Notre Dame. Isn't it apropos that they're playing Notre Dame in college hoops? And you got to figure that's a huge spot for Notre Dame, right? The team that kept them out of the college football playoffs. Well, the sharp money doesn't feel that way. They're backing Miami of Florida. Open 2.5. It's now up to 4.5, even 5 at some of the sharper offshore books. And I agree with that move tonight. I think Miami of Florida is the better team in this game. And if you're going to play it, I would lay it with the Hurricanes. Would have been a great college football game. We saw the opening week of the season, but now we're getting it in college hoops tonight. And one thing that jumps out to me about Miami of Florida, a really good offensive team this season, and getting it done really at both ends of the court. Off to a 3-0 start in the ACC. You look at this matchup tonight as well against Notre Dame. I think one of the edges Miami's going to have is not only the offensive edge, but also with the tempo. Notre Dame likes to play slow half-court basketball. Miami's going to speed it up. And normally I side with the slower half-court team at home, but I just don't think that matchup's going to work tonight. Also, Miami does not rely on the three-point shot much. They're an excellent two-point shooting team, scoring down low. And Notre Dame does not force turnovers. So sharp money's on Miami of Florida. I would agree with that move tonight.
Yeah, and it's funny, I've been watching, Steve, all day long. What a battle in the marketplace on the total in that game. It opened up 144.5, and at about 9:30 this morning, it got steamed down to as low as 141.5. And we know, listen, Notre Dame, and Shrewsbury's not going to be running up and down the court in any way, shape, or form here. But about an hour and a half later, it got jacked all the way back up, steamed all the way back up to 144 and a half, only to get hit again to go back the other way. And now, once again, sure enough, the over money has come in. So it's funny watching how that happens. Different hours during the day, you can see the different steam moves across the board, multiple books. But we got two competing groups. One thinks the under is the play in that game, and one thinks the over is, which likely means it's somewhere in the middle there, isn't it, Steve?
Well, I think you could definitely make a case the side and total are codependent,
Yep.
right? So we saw that early money come in on Miami of Florida from 2.5 up to 4.5, 5. That would
Yep.
probably coincide with money coming on the over as well, because Miami likes to play fast, Notre Dame plays slow,
Yep.
and whichever team dictates the tempo, side total probably correlated. So a two-team parlay with Miami over or Notre Dame under probably would not be a bad investment tonight.
Like it. All right, I am going to go in the NBA then, and I am going to look at the Houston Rockets at home, who have not played a home game, it feels like, in a very, very, very long time. But this starts a 5-game homestand that they will be on. And boy, oh boy, it's got to be a little embarrassing, right? Coming off a loss to Sacramento. You couldn't beat Portland, not once, but twice. So I think they're going to be glad to get home. They're taking on a Chicago team who will have no Josh Giddey, no Colby White. Very hard, I think, for Chicago to be competitive without them. This will be Sengun's second game back, I believe, now from the injury. I would look for Houston to light up Chicago in this one here. I know it's 13, but it's 13 for a reason. I think Chicago's got a game tomorrow night against Utah, in which they'll probably get everybody back, but it feels like this is one of those scheduled losses here, Merrill, and it feels like Houston has a little frustration they might want to get out tonight. So I'll take Houston for my end of the parlay of the day. So there you got it. We've got one NBA, one college, and of course, Art and the NHL. Guys, don't forget, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We do have a surprise for you, though. Prez, even though he still claims to be at the poker table, Merrill, is apparently going to drop in with a big announcement. He's got a big play here tonight. He also has a couple of plays in the NHL that he wants to give out, so we'll hear from him shortly. But that does remind me that, you know, it's now that I get the Prez, I can't get that picture out of my head here, Merrill, because now it is time for some business here. And, yep, when it comes to the Prez, he's all about business, apparently. How about you tonight, though, in a loaded slate? What do you got rolling over at WagerTalk?
I like how he wears that suit in more than one location. It went from the Halloween party to a football stadium, where he's now apparently the halftime entertainment. He doesn't realize that the outfit is the entertainment, right? It's not what he thinks. But, hey, leisure suit, whatever floats your boat, my man. Time for some business. I've got one NBA best bet tonight, one college hoops best bet, both on my page, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. And also, we always post bonus free plays on a daily basis. The last cut, just a bit outside, goes up as a bonus free play. So go get the free play and check out the best bets. Oh, because, Joe, I buried the lead.
Yes.
Each best bet is just $5.
Mm-hmm.
It's $5 Tuesday, and you get multiple best bets. Both my college and pro hoops plays for $5 each. Normally it'd be $50. You're getting them each for just $5. $5 Tuesday, WagerTalk.com. Get to my page quicker, wt.buzz/SM.
Love it, Merrill. All right, yeah, lock loaded. You mentioned it. I got a $5 play. College basketball. I have actually a couple of games I really like a lot on this loaded slate. All of it in packages right now, including 2 in the NBA that you can go get over on my page at WagerTalk.com. But take advantage of the $5 Tuesday, guys. Customer appreciation, both at Steve's page and my page. And go grab those $5 plays and let's make it a profitable night here, Steve. Just like, well, the Houston Texans did last night. Now that we know what the divisional round is going to look like here, Houston on its way to New England. And we talked to Art earlier, and Art said, listen, whatever we see right now, we're likely going to see maybe some different moves and different numbers as the week and, of course, the limits rise. But he also showed that looks like Denver in some spots is already starting to get a little bit of love in the marketplace because they were a dog to open. We talked about that yesterday, Steve, and now it looks like in a lot of spots, Denver -1 here, and it wouldn't shock me if this continues to go in that direction. How about you?
It's tricky because I think the situational setup, as we talked about yesterday, definitely favors the Broncos. And they were a home dog. They were a 1.5 point home dog Monday yesterday when we first started talking about it. Now they're a pick 'em to 1 point favorite in most spots. And historically speaking, having the bye, having home field has been worth 4 to 5 points. It's a strong situational setup. Buffalo also last second win, come from behind win on the road, now traveling cross country, playing in the thin air and altitude on a short week against a rested team. Huge situational edge for Denver. The problem is I'm not a believer in Denver. I want to fade them. I think they're a phony 1 seed. They won the majority of their games by less than a score this season, and that does mean something. But then again, they're the better defensive team as well. So we get the situational setup, the better defense with Denver. I can understand why there has been some money coming on the Broncos and why they're a slight favorite now.
Yeah, and also, I mean, now that we know it's Houston and New England, 2.5 is what the Westgate opened up at. A couple of spots opened up at 2.5 late last night, but we wake up here today and it looks like 3 across the board here. And I think that it feels like Houston could get a little bit public as the week progresses because that defense is what everybody focuses on. But if we're being honest, Merrill, both offenses, I think we question, right? New England, who the hell have you played? This will be the best defense they have played in Houston all year long. And Houston, I mean, 3 turnovers, you can get away with that against Pittsburgh. I don't know that you can get away with that with New England. So this is a tricky game, and I think the market, I don't know that we get back over a field goal here. I don't think we get the 3.5 at any point. We might get back down to 2.5, though.
Well, we're getting to 3.5. South Point is dealing it right now. I'm looking at the odds logic screen. Yeah, on Tuesday afternoon. So, I mean, we're seeing a 3.5s even money. By the way, in your defense, this happened about 25 minutes ago. So when you last looked before the show, it was 3. But yeah, about 1:30 Eastern, South Point and some other books went to 3.5. So we're definitely seeing it now. Total has not moved, and it's hovering on that key number of 41.
41, yep.
About a 3 to 4% chance a game lands exactly 41 points. 21-20. 24-17, 31-10. There's so many margins that get you there. I will say last night when I was watching the game, thought that New England would be at least a field goal favorite. So I think 2.5 was a bad opener. I don't feel like Houston's necessarily a public team still. The Texans have been a fade the public team for years, and they've gotten good the last few seasons. New England's still a big name franchise. And I also watching the game last night was thinking, how could you not play the under? I mean, we just saw them play a good Chargers defense. Texans statistically are the best D in the NFL this year, points allowed and yards allowed. And L.A. held the Patriot offense in check. The big knock on New England this year was that they didn't play anybody. And when they did step up against good defensive teams, they were held in check at times. With that said, though, Joe, when you have two teams coming off low-scoring games, it seems a little too obvious, right? So We'll see. The under seems like the play, and at 41, there is probably some value. DraftKings has a 40.5 already out there. But it's juiced to the over. FanDuel has a 41.5 juiced to the under. Everybody else has a 41.
Yep.
So you could definitely shop around right now on that total. It's been moving a little bit depending on what book you look at.
Yeah, it's funny. I have my odds logic page open, Maryland. I don't have any books that see 3.5. I got all books that say 3. Circa's at 3, but everything is getting juiced right now here on that side. Now, if we do go,
I'm looking at odds logic. You don't have South Point at 3.5?
I don't have South Point. No, I don't have that as one of the books that's on my page that selected.
Oh, I got you. Okay, okay, that's right. And that's one of the more square books, to put it nicely, out there in Vegas. They kind of limit winners at times. So that's interesting as well that it's gone up there. We'll see where the public comes in. I'll have more data on that heading towards the weekend. I'm going to do videos for all these games on Thursday and Friday. So we'll see. We'll see if Houston becomes a public team or not. They just didn't look very impressive last night. So I'm just not so sure the public's going to be jumping on board with them this week.
I am showing 51% of the tickets, 63% of the early money towards Houston, but it's clear this might be one of those situations where it might get split down the middle before it's all said and done. But even all the books, the Circus of the world, the even DraftKings, BetMGM, Superbook, all are juiced big time here at -3. So that could be if you. I would say if you like New England, get the 3 because it certainly seems to be heading in that direction, doesn't it, Steve?
Yes, and 3.5 flat at South Point, but there are some other books that have -3.5 even. So you're exactly right. It's being juiced on 3, juiced the other way on 3.5. You're not getting 2.5 again. That number's gone. I guess the only little point would be how much juice do you lay on 3? But -3 with New England, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the best number you get with the Patriots. Just depends on maybe how much juice you have to pay.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting one to follow because it's still pretty new and early in the week. We'll see what happens once the limits get jacked up there. But we have seen a little bit of movement in the total market with Chicago and the Rams as well, Merrill. We're seeing 49.5s now, opened at 51. It was kind of stagnant 24 hours ago, but it appears we've got some under money hitting the market with the Rams in Chicago. And as that weather report gets a little bit closer, I'm sure that's going to fluctuate as well.
Yeah, and the Rams are a tricky team with totals because they're as explosive offensively as anybody in the league, but they're actually one of the best defenses also.
Yep.
Bears, good offense, not a good defense. And, I said Denver's kind of a phony number 1 seed. I think it's because their offense is no good. Chicago, in my opinion, is a phony number 2 seed because I think their defense is no good. So you could always, take some of that out of the equation by looking at team totals. Rams team total is 27.5. Bears 22.5. So you could just play, if you like the over in the game, just play the Ram team total over 27.5 because they do have a good defense that could maybe hold Chicago in check. We saw Green Bay hold them in check at times in the game a few weeks ago and even for the majority of the game the other night. And let's not forget, Joe, we talked about first quarter unders, first half unders. Those did extremely well this week, even though some of those games opened up in the second half. It's probably another strategy that they'll continue to work, especially on Saturday when you have 2 teams at home that have been laid off for a couple weeks. First quarter unders, first half unders. If you like unders in games, might be a better way to attack. And in fact, that New England game, let's look at what the first half under is. First half under there is 20.5. It's kind of an ugly number.
Yep.
Yeah, and then first quarter under in that New England-Houston game is 7.5 juiced under. Wow. Or
Crazy.
7 over. I mean, it just shows they've caught on to that concept. We got 9.5s under in both games on Saturday. Every good concept I have, the odds makers price me out. They do a good job.
The market jumps all over it. But listen, we told you yesterday it was ugly. I mean, it was 18.5, 19, I think, in that Pittsburgh and Houston game. And it was sorry. It's I can't see us getting to 20 points in the first half of that game. And they barely got to 9 last night. So that was a definitely disgusting game last night. But it looks like we've got some bigger totals coming up this week. But those are the big line moves early, but it's only Tuesday. Wait until those limits start opening up, and there's only 4 games on the board, which means there's going to be a lot more public money flowing in at some point here during the week, and we'll get you covered there. All right, NBA, Merrill, back at it here tonight. Boy, that was some ugly games last night in the association. I had Dallas, and I almost couldn't watch it without trying to throw up here, but they ended up getting it done for us last night. Nothing worse than betting bad teams and hoping for good things, but we got a couple of those games on the board here tonight. So talk to me here. Give us an idea of some of these games here and give us a breakdown on what you're looking at.
Going to look at 2 late-night NBA games for you tonight. Hawks-Lakers at 10:40 Eastern. Also, Portland-Golden State at 11 p.m. Eastern. Boy, we're going late night, to say the least here. And let's start with that Atlanta-Lakers game at 10:40 Eastern. Obviously, some uncertainty with the Hawks, recent trades and whatnot. Porzingis has been ruled out tonight with the Achilles. Luke Kennard is questionable to play. But the big news here is that Doncic is on the injury report. And as of Tuesday afternoon, he is questionable whether he's going to go tonight with the groin. And that's why we see currently in this line, is Atlanta as a substantial road favorite here of a field goal, full field goal. Open -1, it's now -3. Totals dropped a little bit from 233.5 down to 231.5. Just not sure if I trust the Hawks yet to be fully focused and ready to roll. With that said, though, they are playing good basketball. 3 straight wins and covers their last 3. They've gone 5-2 straight up. And going back further, they're now 7-2 against the spread their last 9. But if you look at the totals in these games, they've been staying under the total. 6 of their last 7 have gone under. And it's because their defense has started to show up here. With those 3 straight wins, it's been on the defensive side of the ball. Lakers, meanwhile, 0-3 straight up in ATS their last 3. Maybe don't have Doncic tonight. I would lean under in this game here between the Hawks and Lakers. It's dropped a little bit, but still some value under 231.5 in that game. And then the late game at 11 p.m. Eastern, Portland and Golden State. Similar situation here. Golden State should be pretty focused after the loss in their last game against Atlanta. That team the Hawks just beat was Golden State. Warriors have still won 3 of their last 4 straight up, though. Defense has been suspect, though. They've given up over 50% shooting in 5 of their last 7 games, but it might not matter tonight because the Trailblazers, one of the worst offensive teams in the league, they've shot 43% or worse in 3 of their last 5 games, in 5 of their last 7. And despite doing that, they have still won 5 of their last 6 games straight up and against the spread. A recent loss against New York. Not a believer in Portland, though. This line's gone from 9.5 up to 10.5. I think they're a little bit of a phony team. Should be a focus spot tonight for Golden State. I would take a look at the Warriors and lay the 10.5 in this one. So under Lakers, Hawks, and a bounce-back spot for Golden State minus the 10.5. 2 late-night games for Tuesday. And don't forget, it is $5 Tuesday. I've got a $5 best bet in the NBA on a different game, and also a $5 college hoops best bet. Get both my top college and pro basketball plays for just $5 each tonight. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com, and get there quicker with shortcut WT.buzz/SM.
Great stuff, Merrill. All right, let's talk about some college basketball games here tonight. We'll start with one of them right off the bat that you don't often see, and that is Fog Allen in Kansas being at home and being a dog, Merrill. And that never, ever happens. But it happens when Iowa State, I guess, comes to town right now. But this is a pretty big road test for Iowa State here to go to Fog Allen. You know, Peterson, whether he plays long enough or doesn't play long enough, it feels like he's playing long enough in Big 12 games to get his 20-some-odd points, and then all of a sudden his legs can't go, and he's on the bench with ice packs and everything else. So you really got your money's worth there, Bill Self. My goodness. But the question is, do we trust an Iowa State team to win and win by, more than a bucket is what it looks like now? This was as high as 4.5 before we started to see some buyback. I think it's 3 now in a lot of spots in the market. But, man, you don't get to see Kansas as a home dog very often here.
Yeah, there is something to that. And obviously every team is different every season. But when you have a historically strong program, historically strong court like that, It does catch your attention. And we talked about with the NFL playoffs, blindly playing home underdogs for over 40-some years now has been a 70% play in the NFL postseason. And we saw the Panthers almost win out as a double-digit dog. We saw the Bears win out as well. So I do put some credence in that. It's very difficult to say lay the points here with Iowa State, even though they are the better team on paper this year. Also, Iowa State's 16-0 straight up. We saw Michigan just lose recently. I think Michigan's the best team in college basketball. When you're undefeated and running like that, you almost start playing tight at some point. Whereas I think Kansas has less to lose here. They're off to a 1-2 start in the conference. They're a home dog tonight. So we'll dig into the matchup a little bit here. I still have Kansas as a top 20 program. So it's not like they're a much weaker squad this year. They're still, probably a 4 or 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. Iowa State's a 1 or 2 seed. So this isn't a complete mismatch. And then if you look at the pace of play, both teams like an upper tempo pace of play. What it's going to come down to, I think, is really if Iowa State hits their 3-pointers. They're the second best 3-point shooting team in the country. 41%. Kansas is the 6th best 3-point defense in the country, 28%. On the road, it's tougher to shoot and make your shots. Hard to predict 3-pointers, just like it's hard to predict turnovers in football, and that's usually what decides both sports. But I get a sneaking suspicion tonight, Joe, that Iowa State might not be quite as strong from 3, and that could be the difference in this game. So, I think Kansas definitely could pull the upset, which is hard to believe we're saying it's an upset. They beat Iowa State at home.
Yeah, well, again, they're not going to shoot 41% the entire season, Iowa State, from three. So this could be a little bit of regression coming here tonight at Fog Allen. That place will be rocking. Also, I can't figure out one of the other flips that we've seen here today is with my boys in Stillwater at Oklahoma State. They opened up as a 2-point dog with Baylor coming to town. But Baylor sucks. I don't care who they have in the portal that came there. 28 years old, NBA player. Doesn't make a difference. I mean, they have dropped 3 straight. Houston destroyed them, 77-55. They were a 2.5-point home dog there, and it wasn't even close. Oklahoma State's 11-0 back in Gallagher-Iba there. Now, they did cover against Iowa State, even though they got destroyed 83-71, but they were 18.5-point road dogs in that one. The market has flipped it. The market does not trust Baylor in this spot, so they went from a 2-point favorite to now a dog here. You know, Baylor 0-2 in Big 12 road games so far. Oklahoma State much better at home than they have been on the road, and I got to kind of agree with the market. I can't trust Baylor offensively right now.
Yeah, I rate these two teams almost dead equal, Joe. They're both barely top 50 teams. Like you said, both off to Oklahoma start off to the Baylor off to the 0-3 starting conference. I really don't think there's much of a difference between these squads. So I think that's one of the reasons we've seen some money come in Oklahoma State. Is I just don't, as you said, I don't think Baylor should have been a road favorite. -2 especially was a strange opener. I thought in this game. Even at the pick 'em price range now, I think there's some value with Oklahoma State. 5th fastest tempo in the country. They like to get up and down. Baylor likes that style of play as well, so I don't think either team will be unhappy with it. Both teams are very good offensive teams. Both offenses hold the edge. Total, though, has actually dropped. 168.5 down to 166. We always talk about how the highest totals go over, lowest totals go under. I think there's some value with the over in this game now, over 166. And at a pick'em range, I'd probably lean Oklahoma State as I favor them by a couple baskets here. But the total might be the best way to attack this. 2 fast-paced teams and 2 offenses that hold the edge.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this should be a good one. There's a lot of those across the board here tonight in college basketball. It is a huge slate here. But we also have, of course, our mailbag that's coming up here, where some of the viewer questions and comments there from yesterday's show will highlight. But first, like promised, we have a very special visitor. And I mean special because the Prez is special. But Prez is here. He's got a great opportunity for you guys tonight. Not to mention, he's got an NHL rundown he's going to go through. So, Prez, what do you got going for us here today?
Joe Raineri, thanks for doing this. It's time for your NHL rundown, everybody. And I came on today's show, even though I made day 2 of the poker tournament and starting in an hour, I came on because I have one of those must-bet plays today. It's a Customer Appreciation Tuesday. It's $5. And I have one of my, probably the single most consistently profitable bet I ever make in my life. And it is today. And it is very, very rare. We only had one of these recently and we won it. Bottom line, guys, is I got a 4% NHL play tonight. To give you perspective, this is a money line bet. I am on an 8-2 run in these. I am 41-17 in these plays. That's 67% since 2022. That is correct. Since the beginning of the 2022 season, I am 41-17 in these plays. This is as strong as it gets. It's only $5. Please make sure to bet this play and make sure to do it tonight. It also comes, I have a NFL ATS 5% play. I got a promo code inside of there for you. Okay, guys, we've got our NHL rundown coming your way. Let's get straight into it. A whole lot of games tonight. We're going to start right off the bat with Vancouver playing Ottawa. I like the under in this game. It is 6. Vancouver struggling to score. We saw them put up nothing against the Leafs. Take under the total of 6. Washington playing Montreal. I like this game to go under the total of 6 as well. I also lean on Washington, but I don't like the line. Tampa Bay playing Pittsburgh. I like over the total of 6 here. Guys, keep taking Pittsburgh games over. Keep looking to take Tampa Bay games over. You should win on a regular basis. Calgary playing Columbus. I look at Columbus here at minus 140 against Calgary. Detroit hosting on the road playing Boston tonight. I like under the total. You can get a 6.5 there, guys. So look to take that. Carolina playing St. Louis. Look, Carolina, this team is going over. And St. Louis, they're struggling. I like Carolina here, but I like them in regulation. I don't want to lay minus 165, especially with their goaltending problems. Take Carolina in regulation. Take Edmonton and Nashville to go over 6.5, and take Edmonton again. I gave it out on my Instagram channel yesterday. Take Edmonton again. New York Islanders playing Winnipeg. I like the under in this game. And I like the under in the Toronto-Utah game. A great effort by Toronto last night. Bad spot for Toronto as well. I do like Utah, and I take them in regulation. And I like Dallas over Anaheim. Guys, thanks for listening. And please, if you don't mind, $5, head over, grab my 4% NHL Moneyline bet. This is as big a play as I give out, and they're very, very rare. Thanks so much. Back to Joe and Steve.
Always good to see the Prez. Probably have to see him again tomorrow, but hopefully he gets through with that poker tournament, wins a few bucks. Either way, we're going to call shenanigans on him when he gets back here tomorrow, Merrill. Let's take a look at the mailbag here, Steve. A lot of folks love to see you here on the show at the best betting show ever, which is always great. Somebody, I think it was Ghostwind Sports, wants to know how much longer can the Bears continue to be the cardiac kids and win games like they have done? Can they run the table? Art said the Bears would be devastating to the books in the future markets if the Bears actually get to the Super Bowl and win it. That would be a bad situation for the book. But I don't know. Do you feel like the luck is running out here with the Bears, Merrill?
Yeah, they're going to be an underdog in every remaining game. They'd have to win three more straight games as an underdog. So they'd have to win 4 straight as a dog. Now, it's not a coincidence that they make comebacks. They remind me so much of not my Washington Commanders last season. Young quarterback, come from behind wins, questionable defense. And we saw the Commanders come back down to earth. It was my strongest season totals win play probably in several years, under 9.5. We cashed it before their bye week. And by the way, Daniels getting hurt was factored into that handicap because I thought he was a ticking time bomb running the ball as much as he does. Caleb Williams, bigger, stronger, doesn't run as much, so that's not as likely. But you still win with defense with championships. Now, I think Denver's a little phony as well because they don't have enough offense. And as I pointed out yesterday, teams that win close games, margin of victory matters. And that's how the point spread is set. It's margin of victory and schedule strength. The Bears, the Broncos, teams like that keep having narrow wins. The Commanders last year, the Chiefs last year fit that category. And we saw how they regressed this year. So, yeah, I don't think the Bears run the table here. And they're definitely a regression candidate even next season, maybe, if they don't shore up that defense a little bit in the offseason.
I agree there. Also, we've got Dennis Carter Jr. says, John Elway used to be called the comeback kid, Merrill. He says he guesses Josh Allen has got to be the new comeback kid. Listen, I could say Caleb Williams is the new comeback kid with as many games as they have done, but I think they've won in spite of him. But Josh Allen, now that's somebody that is not just been doing it one season. All he does in December and January, Steve, is that when the game and the teams and the competition is better, all he does is win games. It's even against this defense of Denver, who, by the way, over the last couple of weeks of the season is not the same suffocating defense that it was earlier in the year, but he plays his best against better defenses. He always has. You don't come across that, but comeback kid, I'm sure he'd rather not have to come from behind in the fourth quarter and the second half, Merrill, of every game. But it does feel a lot very, John Elway-esque what we're getting from him.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because that last question I was about to say, another team that comes to mind with all these comebacks and questionable defense is the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
Their run D gives up, just like Chicago, both give up over 5 yards a carry. That's half a first down every time the team opponent runs the ball. You can't. That's not sustainable normally. The difference, though, is it's not a fluke they come back because Caleb Williams is playing great. Jaden Daniels played great last year, and Josh Allen's better than both of them. And what is it? I think now 36 come from behind wins in the fourth quarter or whatever that stat was they showed last week. It was 35 as he was driving down the field. I don't remember the exact qualifier. I think maybe it was fourth quarter comeback in his career.
Crazy.
So now it's 36.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's something to that, right? And John Elway there was, and they're both really good. They're MVP caliber quarterbacks. And I will say, we talked about this yesterday. I was like, if experience matters, it's like the Rams, the 49ers, and maybe the Bills. Those are like the only three teams left in the playoffs that you could say have any kind of big game experience, whether in the conference title game or even the Super Bowl. And there again, you start looking at the quarterbacks for those teams. Matthew Stafford's the favorite to be MVP. Drake May's the second favorite, but he doesn't have the experience. But Josh Allen is up there as well. He has the experience. And I'll even throw Brock Purdy. I don't know if he has all the experience, but he's been clutch now.
Been there
for a few years. And was he in the Super Bowl? He made the Super Bowl that first year, right?
Yeah, but he didn't play because that's where they had to go. Like what they have to go.
I was trying to remember his rookie year if they made it or not. Or they lost
they
the
made it to
title
the
game,
to the NFC Championship, I believe.
Yeah, they lost at home, I think, to the maybe the Eagles or somebody. Yeah,
that was
so
Josh Johnson.
So we have 2.5 qualifiers: Stafford and Allen, and then maybe Purdy. And I will say this too about the Niners. You look up Mac Jones's numbers; they were 5-3 with him. I think they're like 8 or 9-1 now with Purdy this year, whatever the record is. Mac Jones is like yards per pass, QB rating were almost identical in the games he played. So, could also make an argument maybe the San Fran system is just good, and Shanahan and whatnot. But if you really break it down simplistically, it's going to be Rams-Bills, right? But I still don't trust that Buffalo defense. But that's another reason I'm not big on Chicago. They'd have to get through both the Rams and Seattle, who I think are probably the two most complete teams right now. Yeah,
well, he actually did. He actually made it to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Chiefs in 2024. You're right, 23-24, right? And 5-2 in the playoffs. So,
I thought he maybe made it his rookie season because that's where he came out of nowhere, started the second half of the season, and had the monster run. Okay, so I throw him in the mix. He's got Super Bowl experience.
Yep.
I'd say if you could win the conference championship, you have experience at that point.
You got there. I agree. Yeah. And now, and they've pulled off some upsets. His rookie year, 2022, they ended up beating the Seahawks in the wild card. They beat the Cowboys in the divisional, but they lost to the Eagles. That's when they had to go, I think, Wildcat or whatever the hell that was. It was actually
crazy. He was a rookie
in
22. It's been that long? I thought 24 was his rookie season.
Yep.
Man, when I was 10 years old, I could tell you every score of every Super Bowl for the first 20 years, and I can't even tell you who played in it 2 years ago. I didn't remember. I knew they were in it recently, and that might sound weird to the viewers out there, but it's just like we're talking about 20 games every day in every sport. It just starts to overload.
First rookie quarterback since Russell Wilson in 2012 to win a playoff game. That's who he is, Mr. Irrelevant. And nobody puts him in that category. It's so funny. Nobody looks at him that, but I mean, the guy is certainly, when it comes to experience, you have to take what he brings to the table pretty well. And again, to go on the road and do it was pretty darn impressive, even against, that Philadelphia offense. But will the luck run out against Seattle this week? I don't know. Are we really banking on Sam Darnold? If you had, just from a quarterback perspective, who's got more experience, Brock Purdy or Sam Darnold in this spot?
Great point. I was just going to say there was a name I did not mention during that whole conversation, if you recall, and it was on purpose. I did not mention Sam Darnold. He does not quit. He does not fit any of those qualifiers. Now, Drake May doesn't either, but May's just like the second of the MVP odds right now, so I think he's had a slightly better season than Darnold. Stroud has had some wins in the playoffs, but if you really look at it, it's an interesting system to use as well in the NFL during the regular season. We talk about Kansas being a rare home dog.
Yep.
Getting the better quarterback as an underdog price in the NFL is probably I haven't back tested that. Probably should. You'd have to put some quantifiers on it. You'd almost have to do it by hand because, I don't know how you quantify who's the better quarterback. Maybe career QB rating or something, or for that season, you could do something like that. But the eyeball test, I think we would all agree that Purdy has had the better career consistently than Darnold. Getting him as a dog of a touchdown.
Yep.
And we also have the quick revenge spot.
Yep.
Bowl rematches. The team that lost the regular season game is 5-1. The only one that bucked that trend was Ole Miss beating Tulane, who's like a 3-touchdown favorite. And that's a quick rematch there, too, with Seattle San Fran.
Yep.
I'll be interested to see where the public lines up on that one.
5-2 in the postseason with Super Bowl experience. Let me know when Sam Darnold gets those 5 wins in the postseason. Let's see how that rolls out there. But that's why they got to play the game, and they'll do that on Sunday. Final game, I believe, of the 2 on Saturday. San Francisco, Seattle is the late game on Saturday. Buffalo and Denver is the 4:30 game, and then Houston and New England kicks it off on Sunday at 3. So that final game is going to be Rams versus Chicago this week, and that'll be Sunday night at 6:30. So a lot can happen between now and then, but we will certainly keep you posted. Art DiCesare all week long. Steve Merrill, always a pleasure, man. It's been a lot of fun having you on the show, and you and I both know Prez will Thursday, exact. Prez will be traveling.
It's confirmed.
Yes.
Yeah, he's flying apparently. He told me today. I'm doing today and Thursday, so you have him tomorrow.
Yes.
He's your responsibility. And then Thursday we're okay. And then Friday you get him again, I would assume.
Yes.
There you go.
This would be great. If we could only get Brian Power in, that would be really a homecoming. All good stuff. Merrill, enjoy the damn games here tonight. Remind the people, it is $5 Tuesday, right? Everything up over at WagerTalk.com for us.
That's right. Couldn't be simpler. Look at that. Abe Lincoln approved. $5 Tuesday, instant 80% discount on every play. Normally it's $25 for one best bet. You're getting both plays of mine, NBA and college hoops tonight for just $5 each. $5 Tuesday. Self-explanatory, as we say in the business.
That's correct. Go get him. His is all locked and loaded. I got one in college basketball ready to go, guys. So make sure you hit that like, subscribe button, and make plans to come back and join us again tomorrow. And Merrill, we'll see you apparently on Thursday. Enjoy the games, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.